Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show.
Welcome to Consulting Leaders Podcast, a place where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your own practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, John Degnan. Join me as we talk with the best consultants in their niche. And today we welcome Dr. Randy Ross. He's the founder and CEO of Remarkable, a best-selling author, keynote speaker, leadership advisor. He has worked with organizations such as Delta, GE Appliances, and Keller Williams to develop leaders, strengthen culture, and improve team performance. A former chief people officer, he brings both executive and advisory experience to his work. In this episode, we're going to unpack how consulting leaders can build cultures that retain talent, create meaning at work, and translate values into consistent execution without overcomplicating the model. Randy, thanks for joining us. Tell us more about yourself.
Hey, John. Well, thank you for allowing me to be a part of the podcast. It's great to be with you and looking forward to a good conversation. Yeah, as you mentioned, we started Remarkable. Gosh, it's almost been 20 years ago now. Hard to believe it's been 18, but we are a consulting and advisory group. I'm an author and a speaker. I get the privilege of traveling across the country and working with a variety of groups all around leadership development. We like to say that we are the outsourced leadership development experts for a lot of organizations, and we help them grow leaders worth following. So we do that in our written material, we do it in our live presentations, we do it with our digital content, and we just have the pleasure and the privilege of serving a lot of organizations at various sizes and locations across the country.
I looked at your tagline on your website, and you were quoted as saying, "I help organizations create compelling cultures by growing leaders worth following." Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so, one of the phenomenons I think that oftentimes takes place in organizational life is that leaders or people are elevated to roles of leadership. Sometimes they don't feel comfortable or they're not necessarily competent in because maybe they were a great individual contributor or they may have been a subject matter expert and they did really well in that role. So the organization taps them on the shoulder and says, "Hey, why don't you lead people?" And they think, well, if I just do more of what I did individually, then it'll garner the same results. And that rarely ever happens because oftentimes a lot of things that we might think are common sense when it comes to developing relationally rich environments is not necessarily common practice. And so, as you know, people sometimes get into those roles of leadership. They create a less than compelling environment or culture in which to work, and then people give up. They quit. They don't quit their jobs. They quit on their leadership. They quit on culture. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that doesn't happen. And so we provide everything necessary for organizations to help leaders gain the skill sets and the competencies that they need to create what we call relationally rich, healthy environments in which people can flourish. And so that's what we enjoy doing.
Do you help those organizations earmark potential leaders?
We do that as well. Yeah. So we help them with bench strength. We help them assessing high potential leaders. We take leaders where they are now and help grow them. And sometimes we help move leaders out of positions and move them laterally and other places where they have more fulfillment because honestly, right now, there are more managers looking to leave organizations than there are frontline employees.
Wow.
And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that the entire organization is healthy, that the managers are healthy, they enjoy what they're doing, they're equipped to do it well, and then they create the kind of environment where team members can excel as well.
Randy, what got you into leadership development, and how did that evolve into building Remarkable?
Well, for me, the first part of my career, I was in the not-for-profit space, John, and I love that realm. And here's why, because not-for-profits have really figured out how to tap into people's passion and a sense of purpose. Because obviously they're run by volunteers, right? They're not They're not there serving because of financial remuneration. They're there because their heart has been captured by a cause. And I think that says a lot, because for-profit organizations could learn a lot about motivation when they really understand what it takes to tie individuals' personal passion to corporate objectives. And so one of the things we like to do is to go in and help organizations, have a better sense of calling, a better sense of direction, better connectivity with the community. You can call it corporate social responsibility. You can call it conscious capitalism. You can call it connecting with the community. But the whole idea is this, is that people like to do good business with businesses that do good. And that's the bottom line. And so we want to help organizations have a higher calling and a higher purpose that really taps into people's emotions. That's what we call engagement. It's individuals' emotional attachment to the work experience. Because people, they don't want to just make more money for you or the organization. Obviously, they need to make a good living, but really, I think we've learned over the course of time that if you really want to have good long-term players, that it's not as much about financial remuneration, although you have to pay a good wage for fair exchange of value, but it's more about what's the purpose? What's the why? If you want to use Simon Sinek, why are we doing what we're doing? And individuals want to have a personal purpose that goes beyond self as well. And so we help organizations be able to more fully flesh that out through their organizational structure, through their strategy, through their hiring, through their leadership development, and literally create environments that are captivating, that not only attract, but retain top talent. Because most organizations right now are struggling severely in that regard. Everywhere we go across the country, people seem to be having a hard time holding on to good talent. There are a lot of factors that play into that, but the biggest factor is the culture of the organization.
And when you're looking for that talent, especially as a former chief people officer, how do you tap into the talent? How do you know they're talented, not just talented, but also passionate?
Yeah, that's a great question. It may take us a little while to unpack. But I'm a philosophy geek. My background is in philosophy, psychology, theology. I like to explore what makes people tick. What drives them. And there are a lot of principles that we can learn from the field of axiology. Your listeners may or may not know what axiology is, but it's a strain of philosophy that talks about values, value creation, and value constructs. And so when we're looking to hire, it's not a matter of competencies, because skill sets can be learned. It's really a matter of what are their value constructs? What's most important to them? Do their values align with the values of the organization? I wrote a book several years ago called Relationomics, and in the book we talk about the power of value centricity. When the personal values of the individual align with the values of the organization, you create literally a circuit through which energy can flow to light up the world, because you're unified, and there's not a more powerful force on the planet than unity if you want to do good and create impact. And so we want to hire to values, we want to train to values, we want to grow our leadership to align with the values. But value constructs are what we're looking for. We want to know what actually makes people tick, what gets them excited about getting out of bed in the morning. And when they can say our mission, our vision, our values, man, that's what I want to be a part of, that's when you have true alignment.
You coined a brilliant term, value centricity. Value centricity.
Yeah,
value centricity.
Say that.
Value centricity.
We made that word up, but it's a powerful word.
No, it's a great word. I like it a lot. But how much of it is an ideal versus practical?
Well, that's a good observation. I think what we want to do, too many organizations are looking to settle for the acceptable. And what we want to do is we want to push organizations to strive for the exceptional. And exceptional is totally different. There are a lot of organizations, honestly, and I hate to say this, but if you can fog a mirror, they'll hire you because they're so, short-handed right now. But that's not how you build a strong business. because your business is built by your people, and your
Absolutely.
people interact. They're your brand ambassadors on the front line. And so you have to hire across the organization from top to bottom, sideways to sideways. You gotta build on strong people. And it's often been said that your people are your greatest asset. I take exception to that because that's not true. This is what's true. The right people are your greatest asset, but the wrong people are your greatest liability. And so it's not just your people. You have to have the right people on board, and they have to be passionate about what you're doing. So organizations that want to grow, they can't settle for acceptable. They have to strive for exceptional. And that's what we want to try to help them do.
Do you have some stubborn clients that have acceptable leaders, but not exceptional leaders that you would really, prefer otherwise?
Well, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of organizations that they settle for acceptable, and they're not investing in their leadership development. And those are the organizations that have a high churn rate. They can't seem to close the revolving door because people who are good will come into the organization, and after they, for a while, try to make positive impact or move it in a good direction, they feel like they're beating their head against the wall and they just back out. And they say, this isn't for me. And then the organization goes, we can't hire good talent. Well, no, it's not. It's not a talent problem. It's a leadership problem. A well-defined problem is half solved. And so it's not a talent problem. It's a leadership issue. And organizations need to make leadership development a higher priority. When they do that and they get that right, the culture naturally falls into place. And then you begin to create rich environments in which people can flourish.
What
But
other
unfortunately, there's just a lot of organizations that have not put a heavy accent mark on leadership development.
serious problem? What other serious problems do you deal with in the workplace? You're trying to fix?
Well, it's interesting because we've come through a lot of different challenges over the last several years. Um, COVID obviously put the brakes on a lot of things and changed the way we saw work and how we did work. Remote work has changed the landscape, and we're trying to get our footing back. And now we have AI that is definitely a disruptor. It's a huge, powerful, impactful tool. But I think the one thing that we've got to always remember is that the more personal you can make something, the more impactful it will be. So even as organizations, we're trying to restaff, restructure, maximizing AI with all of the benefits that it brings to the table, if we lose sight of the fact that it's still all about the people, if we lose our capacity for empathy and deep relational connection, then those organizations in the long run are going to struggle. And so I think there's no greater time than right now, and this is what we do, is we help organizations grow in their capacity when it comes to leadership presence, when it comes to executive presence, when it comes to emotional intelligence, all of those key factors that are necessary for us to connect more deeply as human beings, because our society as a whole is becoming more impersonal. We know that all the research says that social media, with all of its benefits and connectivity, has actually caused us to become less relationally adept. And there's higher levels of anxiety, there's higher levels of loneliness and suicidal ideation. It's been an interesting phenomenon that's taken place in our society where we've never been more connected, yet we've never been more isolated. And so we have to, as leaders, continually create, as we mentioned before, this relationally rich environment, because that's what's going to compel people to bring their best to work every day. The biggest crisis we've got going on right now is literally just loneliness. People who don't feel connected to one another. And so therefore, if they don't feel a sense of connection to the other people around them, there's no sense of passion or fulfillment or purpose or happiness. Everybody wants to be happy, but happiness boils down to two things: the pursuit of a worthy goal and how healthy your relationships are. And unfortunately, there's just a lot of individuals that are struggling in silence right now with a lack of good, healthy relationships.
Who are your ideal clients today, And who holds the decision to bring you in or hire you?
Ideal client in terms of organization size, that really doesn't matter because we work with small mom and pop shops around the corner and we work with multinational companies. And so we've got a wide smattering of organizational sizes and verticals within our service portfolio. The people who usually bring me in are either in the executive suite, they've heard me speak somewhere at a conference, and they like the messaging, or it could be somebody in HR, could be an event planner, but it's typically senior level leadership that have become exposed to our books or our content, and then they invite us to come in and work with the organization.
How do clients typically find you today?
I would say predominantly two ways. When I go and I speak for an organization or an association, I have exposure to a lot of people because I'll speak from to people 200, a gathering of 200 to 20,000, and after I speak and people hear the message, they're intrigued and they come up, and that's how I meet a lot of people. When you have a strong signature, keynote, and it resonates with people, and they go, "That's just great content. We need to bring that into our organization." That's probably one of the best ways, is just off the stage or people inquiring after an engagement. But it's all about relational connectivity, John. We have to flip the funnel. We used to think about a broad funnel where you go out and try to reach a lot of people and then narrow it down to a preferred client. We kind of have flipped that backwards. And we start off with our preferred clients, and we develop a deep relationship with them, and we serve them and meet their needs, and then they refer us to their friends. And so we've done it that way, but cold methodology has not worked for us very well. But I will tell you that podcasting is a great way for exposure, because podcasting gets your message out into the ether sphere. And as long as you're on the right podcasts that are attracting the right kind of audience, the target audience that we're talking about for us would be C-suite and leaders in HR. Podcasting can be a great way to get the message out there. But for us, the more personal you can make it, the more impactful it happens to be.
When you're working with larger organizations, how do you typically move from initial conversations to actually closing the engagement?
Well, it's not complicated. It's really simple. What we do is we want to do a lot of exploratory conversations, a lot of discovery. We want to find out what are their pain and pressure points, particularly when it comes to building their teams. We're very attuned to all the challenges that HR leaders go through, and the C-suite obviously understands the power of moving their people emotionally. And so we want to find out, what are you doing in that realm? What kind of a culture do you have? And what are you doing to work on culture? Because the single greatest responsibility of leadership is to keep your hand on the helm of culture. Because we like to say it this way: you're going to have a culture as an organization, but it's going to be either by intentional design, or it's going to be by default. And trust me, you don't want to have a culture by default. You want to have a culture by design. So we help organizations craft compelling cultures by design. And so the C-suite gets that, they understand that, and those organizations that we enjoy working with, they know that culture is not something that you create and then you just walk away from it. It's something that's ongoing. It's an ongoing conversation within the life of the organization.
How do you retain your clients over time, Randy?
Serving them well. It's as simple as that. We have a leadership development program. We embed ourselves in organizations. We have what's called an immersive leadership development experience, which is a 2-year-long program. We'll go into an organization once a quarter over a 2-year period, and we will provide for them leadership development so that when their team members complete our 2-year course, they have what's equivalent to a master's degree in leadership development. And so again, we love to help organizations grow leaders worth following. And so we just embed ourselves as a partner, get to know the organization, consult with them, serve them, coach and counsel them, their team members, and provide just good quality content. And that's how we stay involved with organizations and have maintained, essentially lifelong friendships with leaders in a wide variety of organizations.
And as you grow remarkable, do you find yourself stuck at all in any situations right now?
That's an interesting question, because our big debate has been, how far do we want to grow the company? We want to have a more expanded impact, but we're trying to figure out how can we do that through automated means, because we only have, so much time and energy to take on clients personally. Our team of facilitators, they're limited in their capacity. And so we're getting close to hitting our max. And this has always been, for me, a fun lifestyle business. Never wanted to grow a large organization with hundreds of consultants. I just want a very elite, highly trained, highly trusted group of folks who go out and deliver our content. And so how do we do that? Digitally. We've just launched some new content on our digital platform that we're really excited about, that we can make it available to everybody it's very accessible and very affordable. That's one of the ways we're looking to grow the organization. But, to what degree, we're very happy and healthy and very comfortable doing what we're doing right now.
Looking ahead, where do you see the biggest opportunity for leadership and culture development over the next few years?
Well, I think this whole AI conversation is going to be a lot of fun to watch this and monitor this. It's providing a lot of efficiencies in some organizations, but I think that the fear and the caution that I would bring to the conversation just revolves around this relationally rich environment. AI can only do so much. Artificial intelligence will never be able to connect in a healthy way emotionally with people. And so we have to keep looking for ways that AI will help us drive deeper relationships, because if we're not creating deeper relationships, and if all we're doing is staying more superficial, then artificial intelligence is really not helping us very much, because it's not increasing our emotional intelligence. It may be providing us with more information, but it's not really capturing our attention. And, wherever your attention goes, that's where your energy will flow. And so AI, while it's good in many, many respects, it still has the limitation of being impersonal. And so I think we have to be very, very careful about how we apply it.
On the personal side, I see that you're a father of 4.
I am. Yeah, we have 4. They're all out of the nest. They're all adults now and well on their way. And we've made it clear they can't move back in. They can come visit anytime they want to, but they can't move back in.
So what have you learned from them in terms of professional leadership?
Oh, man.
That's a loaded question, right?
No, we could talk about that all day long. That's one of my favorite topics, because I tell executives all the time that your homework needs to be done first before you bring it to work. Because, there's nothing more fulfilling than having good, healthy, strong relationships at home. And in many ways, we find ourselves in the marketplace, honestly, parenting those that we serve. So a lot of our team members, the younger generation that's coming up in the ranks, some of them have not had great parenting. And so we find ourselves in the role of a parent. But lots and lots of lessons from being a parent that I can take into the marketplace and apply and use effectively to help people get to a place of more meaning and fulfillment in their work.
Sure. Randy, great conversation. If people want to find out more about you and see what you do, where should they go?
Our website would be the place to start. It's real simple. It's drrandyross.com. Just DR, no period, drrandyross.com. And it talks about all of our services and our offerings and gives you an opportunity to connect with us if anybody's interested.
Terrific. We'll put all the links in the description. Thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, John. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. see you next time.